Hey guys, welcome back as always. My name is Lazar, and it's finally time, my friends. It's finally time we talk about the Hydroid Rework, which is gonna be coming on the 18th of October with the Abyss of Dagath mainline update. Starting off with his passive ability, Hydroid's old passive would spawn a tentacle, which was cool, subjectively speaking, but borderline useless. Hydroid's new passive ability will be affecting an enemy once Hydroid damages them, and it's gonna be lasting until their death. It makes the first instance of the corrosive status effect remove 50% of the enemy's armor instead of the base 26. As long as Hydroid damages an enemy, you're gonna be able to see a debuff above enemies' heads. Not only will this make the first corrosive status stronger, but it also means that corrosion status can reach 100% armor reduction with full stacks, and that's absolutely huge. To clarify, this means Hydroid does not need to apply all or even any of the corrosive status effects on an enemy as long as Hydroid has damaged the enemy. So essentially all you want is to get that vulnerable to corrosive effect on your enemies. Hydroid's first ability is called Tempest Barrage, and normally this one would deal impact damage and basically ragdoll enemies away, which was useful when you needed some crowd control, but normally most of us wouldn't really use this ability. The damage has been changed to corrosive instead of impact, and now the enemies get staggered instead of ragdoll. The Corroding Barrage augment mount has been renamed Viral Tempest and will have a chance to apply viral status effect rather than corrosive, because it used to apply corrosive, so now corrosive would have been kinda pointless. Now you're gonna be able to get corrosive and viral out of a single Hydroid ability, and that's freaking fantastic. Tidal Surge, Hydroid's second ability, is probably the ability I had most fun with because it basically knocked everything away, which was fun but not overly efficient. This one, now it's gonna be dealing corrosive damage and applying corrosive stacks to the target depending on for how long they've been dragged. Nowadays, Tidal Surge will no longer knock enemies away, but instead they're gonna be dragged along with you, so it makes it easier for you to take them out. Tidal Surge can now also remove all negative status effects from Hydroid, but he was capable of this before. All you had to do is press your free ability Undertow, go puddle mode, and all negative status effects would have been cleared. This functionality was rolled into Tidal Surge because Undertow is completely gone, replaced by another ability. And you could also use Tidal Impunity, so there is that to bear in mind. The new ability is called Plunder. All enemies within range will have corrosive status effects remove their armor permanently, increasing Hydroid's armor and granting bonus corrosive damage to weapons. This ability is stronger based on the number of corrosive status effects applied to the enemies affected by Plunder. This means with full stacks of corrosive statics, their armor will be removed permanently. Of course, this also means that with the removal of Undertow, the Undertow augment is gone. This one is being replaced by Rousing Plunder, and it will cause Plunder to heal Hydroid and his allies within affinity range. We're gonna have to see the scaling on that one. Finally, his 4 ability, Tentacle Swarm. The charge effect has been completely removed. All you gotta do is tap the ability to get the maximum effect. Enemies will be held upright and no longer flailed around because aiming is hard. And that's pretty much gonna do it. Let me know what you think about the Hydroid Rework in the comment section down below, and make sure to let Digital Extremes know over on their forums. You're gonna find a link in the description down below over to the dev workshop. On a personal note, I honestly don't know how to feel about this. It's hard to form a proper cohesive opinion based on just some text and some GIFs and some videos. I need some actual gameplay time with Hydroid. Believe it or not, I'm a Hydroid fan. He's one of my most played from back in the day. I enjoyed the thematic, the idea of this aqua god of Warframe. Unfortunately, he wasn't really in a very good place as far as the meta is concerned, hence the rework. I'm just not entirely sure this was the best direction necessarily to go into, and I'm gonna be missing Undertow. Granted, just being a stationary puddle is not very Warframey, but you know what? It was still fun to combine Undertow into Tidal Surge, which would have made you a flying puddle. Which granted wasn't all that efficient, but it was, subjectively speaking, fun. Link in the cards right now for more details on the Abyss of Dagath giant mainline patch, including some gameplay with Dagath. As always, my name has been Lazar, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!
So the passive used to be, you did the slam dunk into the ground and then a tentacle came out. It wasn't very useful because generally if you pinpointed a hit directly with the slam, you probably killed the unit or you knocked it away. So it wasn't exactly a very beloved passive. So we changed it and we went for the theme of the corrosive waters.
The briny, salty seas, lad, where the ships will rust.
Captain Ahab over here. Wow.
So basically he now enhances corrosive. So basically whenever he damages an enemy by any means, they are now more vulnerable to corrosive in general. So the first stack that gets applied to them removes 50% armor instead of the usual 24. What that means is that if you get corrosive all the way up to 10 stacks, you now strip armor entirely. And he has many means to apply corrosive, so you'll see soon that he can really deliver those stacks. So his one, the first change we made to his one is it used to be impact damage, which didn't love, so now it's corrosive because now we have like a pretty. Oh, you can see the little icon on top of their heads. That basically means that they're vulnerable to corrosive, and any corrosive stacks will basically. They don't have to be from you. They can be from anything. It can be from your weapons, your abilities. It can be from other allies. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you basically applied it to them. The one used to like knock enemies around, so it was really hard to shoot them because essentially the ability kind of pushed them all over the place. So now it just staggers them, so they kind of stay in place. They still move a little bit because otherwise it really loses the kind of the punch. But now it's they kind of stay in the same range. These guys are a little too weak to really show.
I'm just a strong girl.
There's that too. Yeah, so I think those are the main changes to the one.
It doesn't have charge anymore.
Right,
Yeah,
that's a little detail. The charge is gone. The values for normal cast are essentially the same as what used to be the max charge. So you basically get that now from the get-go. Then from his 2, you can see the water thing.
The water thing?
Yeah, the little water wave.
Yeah.
Tidal
Surge.
Surge. Yeah, for Tidal Surge, we basically changed it so it kind of grabs enemies better. Before it just kind of knocked them around. Again, kind of like the one, it just spread enemies around, which generally is not what you want. So now it kind of gathers them with you and takes them on a ride. These guys might be a little too weak for you to
Yeah, if they die,
actually-
they just obviously die in my little Tidal Surge. But
So
they
you're not
survive,
seeing-
they come with me.
Trust that they travel with you whenever they survive. There you go. So they're
Or
basically-
die.
Yep.
Survive or
As they travel with you, you're also applying corrosive to them. So basically, they get even more stacks. So basically, if you grab a bunch of enemies, you deliver it at the end. They're right there in the floor with a bunch of corrosive stacks for you to devastate them. We did a few things with the timing of it. Essentially, before the speed of the wave changed based on duration. We removed that, but we increased the base speed. It was very hard to control, and it caused too many issues to have it kind of be volatile. Like you could end up with really slow waves that didn't feel good. So we changed that. So now it's a constant speed, but it's higher speed than what it was in the original. And also now the status clear that used to be in the augment, the one for you is now by default. The augment now only does the status clear for others, which, and it does the cost reduction thing as well, if you still want that. And then a second of silence.
For Undertow. R.I.P. Undertow.
Burial at sea. Walk the plank.
I loved puddle. I will be a puddle lover till the day I die. Bury me in that puddle.
Okay.
I'm so sad.
So,
but
okay,
I
so
understand.
Undertow.
Undertow is gone.
She
Rip
gone.
Undertow.
But what do we got instead, Pablo?
Yeah, so I mean, just to kind of give you like a brief, I think everyone knows why it went. Essentially,
I don't.
being a stationary,
Why did it go?
being a stationary puddle doesn't really match the game at all. Essentially, you have to be in like a place.
Ambushed by puddle?
We did try changing the puddle to a castable thing where you were not the puddle, but then the problem is enemies would not walk into the puddle, so you needed to then get a second tool to drag enemies into the puddle, and it just got really messy. In general, we also don't love enemy denial, which is basically hiding enemies from other players, because it just makes the game more boring for them. So yeah, in general, like the puddle just was not working, so we changed it.
Can we get an F in chat for puddle?
I don't see any Fs, but I did see someone say it wasn't stationary. That is true. You could move at like 1 meter per second. That is my bad.
If anyone's going to get you on a technicality, it's Twitch chat.
Yeah,
So
There we
true.
go.
Speak with-
We're getting a lot of F's in chat now. It just took a bit.
So the new ability, basically, any enemies in your view, you can plunder their armor and basically steal it for yourself.
Cool.
This scales based on how many enemies there are and also how many corrosive stats they have. So if you're spraying corrosive all over the place, then you plunder the armor and you end up with a bunch of armor and a bunch of...
I like how you made it a theme by calling it
Thunder.
Thunder,
And then, okay, so look at the icon. You can see that Megan set up a group of enemies there. She hit them with some corrosive stacks with her Tempest Barrage, and then boom, the armor was plundered. And this is a survivability ability for our
Yeah,
boy.
so right now, I mean, I think she did it on just a few enemies, but she has 518 armor. You can see there on the upper right, on the lower right, sorry. And 130% corrosive damage added to all your attacks. So you get both of those. You get like a half offensive, half defensive, depending on how many enemies you target. And you know and it scales again from any corrosive stacks, which you can apply with a 1, you can apply with a 2, and you can apply with a 4, which we'll look at in a moment. Actually, there's a bunch of
Yeah.
enemies
Shall
around
we
here.
tentacle?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, try and get. Yeah.
So the tentacle, one of the weird things about it is it used to do magnetic damage, which I found strange. So now it's corrosive, just to go themed with everything else. And instead of flapping the enemies around, which I know a lot of people really dislike because similar to what I mentioned for 1 and 2, it just makes it harder for you to shoot them. Now it just kind of holds them in very awkward positions, as you can see. In very compromising positions for you to
I think
shoot.
I tried that in a yoga class.
Oh my god.
So now it holds them. It's applying the corrosive still.
It looks cool.
There's been some reanimation to the like they reanimations.
The new stuff looks really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to change a lot of things there to kind of make this working the way we wanted. It used to scale, now it shifts. There's a whole bunch of.
Cool.
This one had a lot of technical stuff to get sorted, but it basically means that now it really holds enemies in place. Also, if there's available tentacles and enemies enter the zone, the tentacle will kind of go out and grab them so that you can kind of keep it sort of going. It's not just on the first burst to grab them. You just can grab them over time now. And as you see, it's applying corrosive, and it's doing the maximum damage. Because again, it doesn't have the charge anymore, so you don't have to hold and charge to get it going.
Tentacle swarm is no longer held, so all that has been removed.
Yeah, I think the one thing I forgot to mention on the 1 is that the old Dogman used to give corrosive. Now obviously it gives corrosive by default, so the new one gives viral, which obviously, if you combine both things, it is quite it's quite crazy, but it works.
Yar.
Nice.